Welcome, everyone. We have today another Ask Me Anything live agentic, the platform where business agents are at work. And I'm joined by Louis Choquel. So he's the CTO and co founder of Pipelex. Hi, Louis.
Hi Rod, how are you?
Yes, I'm amazing. I hope you're also well today.
Yeah, great.
And the reason why we're here, it is because we want on one side to discuss what's Pipelex and why we might be interested in using that, but also broader this idea on how we can move from these agents that are brittle to something that is more like engineering driven. And before we get here started, Louis, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How is it that you're in this space of AI agents?
I've always been a tech entrepreneur. I've had several companies that I started, and in different ages, the distribution of digital media at the beginning of the 2000s, and then video games on Facebook, video games on mobile, and every time the constant was that I like to explore the new fields, new possibilities that are opened by new platforms. Social networks, mobile, everything was new and needed to be built. And AI was such a new field. And actually, I'd been following AI like a hobby for 20 years and just waiting for something that looks smart to come and to have fun with it, not just be working with numbers or data, but just having something that feels intelligent. And OpenAI gave me that feeling when I started. They opened the API for GPT-3 back in 2020, like 2 years before ChatGPT. I got my hands on it, and I knew, well, this is okay. This is coming now. And then, like everybody else, I was surprised by how fast it improved onto ChatGPT with GPT 3.5, and then GPT 4. So I knew that that was the next business I wanted to build.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, and it's true that you were in 2020. So on one side, 5 years, on there is a long period, almost half a decade, and the other side is not that long. And in that period, what are the things that you've been seeing in the AI space, Louis, that ultimately led you, for example, now to do Pipelex? What have been like problems that you've been seeing, challenges that people are facing? What has been here interesting?
I think there's a very fundamental challenge for everyone, and I include myself and my team. It took us, months of just working only on those topics to really understand how different it is to work with something intelligent. You hear a lot of people say, "Oh, it's not real intelligence. Oh, it's not real understanding." This is bullshit. These things are smart, and the reason we know it is because they can solve problems that can only be solved by being smart. Okay, so that's the demonstration is there. And historically, every time someone said, "This is not real intelligence," that other thing would be real intelligence, like going from chess to Go, from Go to natural language, from natural language to solving math problems, etc., etc. Oh, you have to admit that it's intelligent, and if it's intelligent, it's not like a tool. People say AI is just a tool. You have to have human to decide what it does. But if it's intelligent, it's not just a tool. It's something different. And so that means we're solving different kinds of problems and we're solving them in different ways. And what we're seeing now, and the agentics wave and the workflows, is just the tip of the iceberg. What we're really seeing is the disconstruction of software itself, in the sense that before, if you had like a human wanted the computer to do something, the method was to have some software in between. So you have to code the software and then run the software and then use the software. Now it's more like you ask the machine to do something and it does it. And it doesn't work with everything, and you have to make it work along with software to keep control and to still be the master of the machine. So this is a new way of thinking. This is what is really hard.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yes, it is a new way of thinking. And for that, so you're coming here with Pipelex, right? So for those who have never heard of it, I'm sure that it's a very new framework. So as a result, I'm sure that a lot of people have never heard of it. What is it, Louis? What's Pipelex?
With Pipelex, we're creating the standard, the open standard for AI workflows. And so when I talk about AI workflows, I mean the ones who are repeatable, the ones that you can run 10,000 times, and it will run the same script, adapt intelligently, but still be the same script, which is not the same thing as autonomous agents which can take initiatives and solve novel problems. Okay, and I think people are wrong to consider that one is better than the other. They're just not for the same kind of jobs. So we're into automating the processes that are you want to be done always the same way. Like in a company, you want your weekly report done the same way. You want I don't know, expense reports to be validated according to the same rules. You want when there's a request for quotation that comes in, you want it analyzed in a certain way, or analyze the the applications from match a job offer to CVs that you receive, and put that in a scorecard. The way people in companies and also in their normal work come to organize the way they work with a method, so that they know what they're doing and they do good work. And this is what we do with Pipelex. We enable the AI to work methodically and in a way that is repeatable. And for that,
Mhm.
if you want to have the same method repeated many times, the method needs to be materialized somewhere. And so for that, we created a language, a specific language for that, which enables to transcribe the requirement of the client, the business logic of the workflow, into
Mhm.
something that is structured without ambiguity, and that can be run by Pipelex with a mix
Mhm.
of software and AI. So it's all open source. So the language is meant to be an open standard, and we also have our runtime, which is a Python library. It's open source on GitHub already, MIT license, so it's really free to use for everyone.
Yes, and this language, so is it like Turing complete? Is it like let's say like alternative to like Python and so on? So for those who do not know, how can they picture that? Is that like YAML? So what is it, Louis?
Um, it's um, it's a category of languages which is called declarative language. A
Mhm.
good example of that is SQL. In SQL, you say, I want this information taken from the database, and then it just does it, but you don't tell it how to get the information. Okay, so there's the imperative languages like Python or C++, where you tell exactly what you want the machine to do, and declarative language, you say what you want as a result, and then it does it. So to be more concrete, it's a very high level of abstraction compared to everything out there. It's not about technicalities. It's about what the client wants to be done. So this, of course, depends on the use case. If it's for legal stuff, if it's for HR stuff, if it's for accounting, or for your cooking recipes, the language is going to talk about the vocabulary, using the vocabulary of that particular use case, and say, and start by defining the word so that it's, there is no ambiguity. So in the context of cooking, in the context of legal, some words will not mean the same thing, and then you will explain to it what you want it to be done step by step in sequence. Because if you give too much work to an AI in one go, it's going to get lost. So you need to have to take things step by step. So the fact that it's very high level and speaks the language of the business, the language of the use case, means that it's a language that you can cooperate with the domain expert, the people who are not developers, who can read it and understand it. It's like a prompt, but very well structured, so you know that it does the same thing every time. Also, it looks like documentation. Actually, we say the code is the documentation, because you don't need to add any comment. Everything is on the table. The other thing is, we created, when we started working on that like 18 months ago, we knew that we were in a new era where what's cool about AI is that it does the job for you. And then when people tell me, yeah, but you still need a human in the loop to prompt the I answer, okay, but can you have an AI write the prompt then? And on and on and on, and so on and so forth. And so can you have the AI really uh, collaborate with you on that? So our language is understandable by AI too. And so AI can write this language. So what I'm telling you is that we created a language, but people don't really need to learn to write this language, because you can just come and to Pipelex and write your natural language query, and it will write the workflow for you. It takes about a minute and a half, And then you have a workflow that you can run 10,000 times, and it will be, it's already validated, and this is how you get things done, in this new world of working with AI.
At Gentic, we have the Arazzo standard as part of our core way how we run agents. It's basically it originated on the Open API ecosystem. I'm not sure if you have heard of it or seen it before. So, Luis, it also goes in this direction, this spirit of saying we need a way how we can describe workflows. We also need a way how this could be done on a let's say, more human readable manner, but at the same time that it can be used by LLMs in a way that it can be so here efficient. So it's basically a JSON descriptor where one can here establish like workflows, and there can be also like business logic behind, and so on and so forth. So I be very curious to see when we see like the Pipelex language where there is synergies, where it complements, where it overlaps with something such as Arazzo. And maybe for that, we can you show us so how it looks live? So I'm here
Yeah.
thinking, is it like a YAML file? So here I'm sure that anyone who is watching might be wondering what is it, and how can I use it, and what can I use it for?
Okay. So let me take a second to share my screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Share screen. All right. Okay. I'm going to share all the screen because, oh yeah, no, wait, I have this. Yeah. No, I have several windows to show you, so I'll share all the screen. It will be easier.
All right.
Okay. So of course now we have the inception effect. And so do you see my cursor example right
Yes,
here?
I see here cursor. Yes,
Okay,
great.
so it's based on an existing syntax. We didn't invent the syntax from the start. We use the TOML syntax, TOML. It was invented by the CEO of GitHub. It's used a lot in Python. It's used a lot in Rust. So it's not something completely new. And it's equivalent to JSON or YAML. You can have the same kind of nested objects, lists, and stuff. The thing we use this TOML syntax because it's great for having prompts. If you look at it, this is a prompt, for instance, here, and it's a multi-line prompt, and so it's all aligned on the left, which is better than the YAML. And if you go, if you go to the next line in the prompt, you don't have like this \n or escape character or stuff like that. So it's very
Mhm.
easy to read. It's like in a string in Python when you have 3 double quotes, and then you can have plain text in there. So that's what makes it a good choice for what we're doing. Now, to explain what you're seeing, here is a workflow. It's defined over there. It's for analyzing if a CV matches a job offer. So you have we call them those workflows pipelines because they're sequences of pipes. So here the main sequence is a CV job batch pipeline here. This is the name of the pipe. It's a sequence. This is its description. As I told you, the language already has all the comments and all the documentation into it. It defines its input, its output, and then how it gets a job done. So every kind of pipe always has input and output, and so you can always know if you can plug them together. And here, the sequence of 3 pipes are extract the CV content, parse documents in parallel, and then analyze the match. It's pretty straightforward. You see, extract CV content is going to use an OCR model. Actually, it's using it shows Mistral OCR to extract the CV.
Mm.
A lot of times, CV have a fancy layout, so this works pretty well. Second part is parse documents in parallel. Here, it's not a sequence one after the other. It's going to do these 2 steps at the same time because parsing the CV information and parsing the job requirements are things that are independent that you can do in parallel. And then it's going to do the matching with a call to an LLM for the extraction and for clarifying what's in this. And this is like, for instance, you need to clarify job requirements. You need to clarify the output is candidate profiles. And those are, as I told you, the vocabulary of the use case. So
Mhm.
it's defined here on top of the file. Concept candidate profile is defined as structured information about the job candidate extracting from the CV. And right there, you have the structure of the concept, the name, contact information, the skills. And this was all created by AI, by the way. We have a playground that we're about to open pretty soon to the public. So this was created by our system in about a minute, something like that. So it structured the candidate profile, it structures the job requirements, and so by having a multi-step process with structured generation, we control what the AI does, and that's how we know it's not going to go astray and be a bad agent that does stuff that was not planned, and we don't have to fight our ways against it with guardrails in every step. We just exactly say what we want it to do, and it does it. And so this was generated by AI, but I can change it, and I can also vibe code on it with cursor or another ID agent. So this makes it pretty easy to work with, actually.
And so here we've seen what is basically like different Python objects for that. But what about external APIs? If I want to call, let's say, Google Drive or like the Gmail API and so on, do I need to first have access to an SDK, or how do I declare? So where is like the API endpoint and so on?
Yeah. Um, Contrary to all the other competitors who do AI workflow today, they are all focused on having connections to all the APIs and all the apps, and they count like 2,000 connectors, and they show examples where they're connected to the CRM, to Notion, to the email, and in the middle of it, there's like a single call to an OpenAI, a circle call to GPT-4 with a mega
Mhm.
prompt, and they don't focus on this part, the thinking part, and this is what we do. So we don't currently have connectors to all the APIs, but we're focusing on the multi-step process of analyzing information and thinking about it in a structured way, in a predictable, deterministic way. So if you want to use Pipelex today in an environment connected to other stuff, well, currently what we have is a Python library, open source. So if you're coding in Python, you can, just call execute pipeline and give the name of the pipe, and it's going to run the script that you saw, and give you the output. What we are moving towards to make this even more usable in a context of integrations is, of course, an MCP server. This way, you can use any chatbot or any other MCP compatible agent, create the workflows for you, and also run the workflows for you. We'll
Yes.
open up an API, and for those people who like, visual builders to create connections to other stuff, like N8N, for instance, which is very popular right now, we'll have a node for N8N. So you can have always the same connection that you have, but instead of having a web of 25 calls to LLMs in the middle of your workflow and have it become really scattered and complex, you can just have one call to a workflow which is run by Pipelex.
Mm, mhm, mhm, mhm. And uh, if one wants to learn Pipelex, so you were saying is basically a language, the scripted language, but there is, I guess, like different rules, and there's also like a vocabulary and so on. And also, I imagine that one would like to give this to an LLM such that it's not me who is always like typing this manually, but rather I just prompt it and I generate it. So how
Yeah.
can one do that?
Well, I can show you an example, of course. It's in beta, so not sure it's not going to bug. There's a debo effect, but let's try. It's really we're building this right now. It started to work like 5 days ago. We went from crashing 4 times out of 5 to 1 time out of 5. And this is not open to the public yet, but it will be pretty soon. So the idea here is that you would enter a prompt. So I have a few examples here. Do you want a funny one or a serious one? So I just show you how to process CVs and job offers, which is pretty serious. So maybe
Let's
try
do a
something
funny one then. Yes, it is. A
funny
funny
one.
sounds
Okay.
good.
Take a photo as input and render the opposite of the photo. Okay, it's pretty, not very much detail, but I just ask it to do that. And now it's running a system to analyze what I want, understand it, and taking the steps. So it's taking my user brief, and it's writing a pseudocode plan to describe what it's going to do. Now it's interpreting a draft. It's methodically working to create the workflow. So it has the overall plan, and then contrary to an agent that would just run with the plan and execute it right away, now it's transforming it into something structured. So it's structuring the concepts, like you saw for the job offers. It's designing the pipe signatures. Signatures is what we call the definition of the pipe, where you have input and output, and you say just how you enter it, how do you escape it, and then it's detailing all of that and generating it into our language. So there are different steps. Okay, it's done already. So it took, I don't know, less than a minute, I think, maybe 45 seconds. So this is the code that it just wrote. I can show you on cursor. I have a better syntax coloring right here. The pipeline is render opposite photo pipeline, analyze. So it's not just going from image to image. It's taking several steps. Analyze the photo content, generate the opposite concept, then create a prompt from that, and then use an image generator to generate from that prompt. Okay. So the concepts are detailed here also, same way. So if I go here, I have a workaround, okay, for a bug. That's it. So now it detected that I needed some input, and the input it needs is an input photo. So I could upload a file. I have a photo of a cute puppy in here. I don't know if it's going to work. It's a full no safety net. So if I just run the pipe now, it's going to execute the steps that it just
Yes.
designed. It's rendering a very drafty flowchart behind that will make it much better in the coming days. So that really shows you what it does. So you have a visual overview, but still the language is the ground truth. The language really defines what the workflow is going to do. So come
And
on. Yep.
And I wonder, once we have this workflow generated on this TOML file, can I just let's like drop it or import it into LangChain, LangGraph, CrewAI, or other popular agentic frameworks and use that as my work plan for my agent? Is this the idea, or what happens now that I have it in place? I have this file with these instructions. What's next?
Well, the problem with the okay. Oh, wait, I have the result now right here. Okay, it didn't work. So okay, not a problem. To answer your question, wait a second. How do I get you back on the screen? Okay. So the competitors or the other solutions that you're mentioning, uh, they all have this vendor lock-in, which means that they can only run the stuff that is made for them. LangGraph can only learn LangGraph. N8 can only run the workflow with N8. You cannot take an N8 workflow and run it on Make. And you cannot take a CrewAI workflow and run it on Autogen. They are all on their own system. With Pipelex, because we're a declarative language where you say what you want it to do, you saw the script. The script could be interpreted by another software coded in another language running on another computer with which we have nothing to do, because the standard is open, it's free. They don't need to pay a license to use it. So it's possible to use LangChain or LangGraph or CrewAI to interpret the script and run it. That's why we call it an open standard. This is the portable way to run pipelines. Now, of course, because we took the time to really design the language in a certain way, our runtime is currently the only one that does it and that does it correctly. But we're not telling the world you have to use our software to run it. We're saying
Yes.
let's all create pipelines, and as you saw, a pipe can call other pipes, in sequence in parallel. Well, you can call other pipes that you created in your team, but you can call also pipelines from another team. So this is the other kind of sharing we're trying to open, where people don't have to reinvent the wheel. If someone did a very good CV extraction, you can use their pipe and integrate it into your own process, maybe customize it to your needs, fork it, or just use it as it is. And so that we can grow and build on top of each other's work. So we need an open standard for that.
And so, does that mean that Pipelex not only offers the language, but also there's a runtime for running these uh, pipes, and this is equivalent to, for example, here CrewAI or LangGraph and so on? Or is it something where, let's say, Pipelex as a language is universal, and then I can drop it in my favorite agentic framework?
Well, it's both. We're giving out a runtime.
Mhm.
That's the one that you saw running. And if and when we get more adoption, we anticipate having this runtime adapted on other platforms and other software. For instance, Currently, it's in Python. Well, soon we'll have a TypeScript version, which does the same thing, and it doesn't matter if it's a different language. What matters is that it takes the input and gives you the output. And these are all codified ways of expressing the input or output. It's equivalent to JSON. So it's really universal in that way. So yes, we're trying to make this language universal, like SQL became universal. There are so many different kinds of databases on the market. There has been for decades, and it's always still the same SQL language. Of course, there are sometimes some dialects, some variations. Maybe on BigQuery, it's not exactly the same SQL as on Postgre or some other stuff, but it's mainly compatible, and that's what we're aiming for.
Mm-hmm. And what's like the most common use cases you've been seeing right now? So with Pipelex, so here one can use and one is using agents for all type of sort of activities, and not only agents but also workflows. So what are things that the communities are building?
Well, we see a lot of people who are struggling with the first step of, kind of like every unstructured data automation. When I say unstructured data, it's a big word to say, the PDF, the text, the emails, and everyone's struggling with the first step when it's a PDF or a scanned document. They're all struggling with the first step, which is the extraction of the information. And
Mhm.
OCR is not great, vision is not great. We are getting very good results when we mix OCR with text extraction and vision, and this way we get a good extraction. And then when we fix that part for them, they start opening their eyes and think, okay, now that the information is extracted and structured, I can do everything I want. And this what people need to do with the information in general is about analyzing and making decision. Okay,
Yes.
so if for instance you analyze an expense report, and then you decide which part of the expense report will be refunded by the company and how it will be managed by the tax people. And so typically this is a use case we saw in the real world. Like you have people who some companies who will just drop in all the expense report in one go and give one prompt to one vision LLM, and give it the mega prompt with all the rules. And you lack reliability when you do that. You will top up at 70% reliability. And so we will
Mm.
analyze the expense report and see that there is a list of items, so you need to take them one by one. This is the step-by-step process. If you take them one by one in parallel, you want to apply the company rules. So first you need to categorize the expense. Is it restaurant? Is it transportation? Is it office supplies? Because you won't apply the same rule on the different cases. And this way you make things work efficiently. And typically expense report, it's not very sexy in itself, but think about it. In all the large companies, it takes a lot of time, and it's time from the managers who are tasked with analyzing the expense report of their team and decide how to apply the company rules. So it's a really awful chore, and that brings no value to the company. And so this is really a great classic.
So from what I'm hearing, you're saying that a big focus of Pipelines right now is on document processing, uh, document management pipelines, where you have OCR, where you have to extract attributes from the document, and this is where you're focusing right now. But for example, let's say that I have as an agent, I know, let's say like a sales agent that is receiving I know, it's like emails from potential customers and so on, and is replying to them. That will be something where others might be a bit better, or Pipelex might not be that mature. Is that correct? Or basically Pipelex is universal for all type of use cases, all type of situations?
Well, the example to give, clearly Pipelex is not the solution to solve this problem like in one go, because what you're talking about email, CRM, there's a big issue of being connected to your software. So not everyone is using the same email, not everyone is using the same CRM, not everyone is using, do you have an API on LinkedIn or not, and all of those stuff. So all the work that is currently done on agentic for sales and analyzing leads and helping you with your sales pipeline, well, most of it is just connecting to the right place, the right information. And so
Mhm.
we don't do that. But at one point, if you have complex complex issue to really understand for if this target, this client, this product is really matching or not. If this is important to you, for instance, if you want not a rough targeting, but a very precise, very high quality targeting, then you need more intelligence and you need a step-by-step process with structured steps. Like uh, you will rate this target with 5 different criteria, and for each criteria, we'll have a different call to an LLM, for instance, to really dig deep into this criteria. And this way, you will have something smarter. But my impression is that today on the market, people are not looking for intelligence on this specific kind of workflows. That's my experience because every day I get emails uh, from people who think they're targeting me, but I'm really badly targeted. And so I think they try to do more volume than quality. And of course, agents and automation in that helps them to do volume more than if they did it, by hand. But maybe one day they will think that in addition to volume, you also need quality. So if you need quality thinking, then Pipelex could be, one step, one node in this workflow.
Mm, mhm, mhm, mhm. And another thing that is so the topic of our talk, which is repeatable AI workflows. And what I'm here wondering is, yes, there is this TOML descriptor file with the instructions, very nicely structured and so on, but still LLMs are very stochastic. And I imagine someone might be saying, okay, maybe I can just like structure my prompt. Maybe instead of here TOML, I use JSON or YAML or something else. I also follow a very structured approach, and then I could achieve similar results. So here, I'm wondering: one is, what would why would someone prefer to go for Pipelex and not develop like their own little rules with their own JSON format and so on? And the other one is, how can we guarantee that these workflows are repeatable?
Well, first, everything that we did with our hands, our computers, and existing technology like Python and the OpenAI SDK and the Anthropic SDK. So of course it can be replicated. Okay, so if someone comes and does the same work as we did, he'll get it to work too. But it doesn't need to because we did it already and it's free and it's open source. So why bother? This is really important. This is how we advance in tech in the most efficient way. Is when we have something that's done right and it's open source, then why bother? If you, and I've come across several engineers who told me, yeah, at one point I did something like that, and it started to work, and then I gave up because actually it's a harder problem than it seems because we're trying to make things simple, and in computing, in development of software, if you want to make things simple, it's really complex. You take on the hard work, and so you only make it work if you dedicate yourself to it. Otherwise, you're going to do structured workflows, but one by one. So like
Mhm.
each of your AI workflow will be a software project. And if it's a software project, it's expensive, and it takes maintenance then because software gets buggy. There's new versions of everything, and especially in AI, there's new models every week. So it's expensive software to maintain. So what you want is to have all the part of these different workflows, which are all the same, like the patterns of thinking, of solving problems, and of being connected to the different models. These ones being maintained by us and the community, the open source community, so that you can rely on that. So I, that's my answer to your question. But typically, if you already have mega prompts, or if you already have JSON prompts, because you already thought about it in a structured way, you can just come and drop them into Pipelex, and it will be converted into our language. And by the way, I thought for a minute out there that my demo had bugged, but actually it worked. It's just that I just got my hands on it, and I clicked on the wrong button. But I can show you exactly where we were and show you why I thought it bugged and why actually it works. So just
Yes,
so
yes, very
my
curious.
engineer would be happy to see that actually I showed that it worked. So this is where we were, and this is the output. And I showed you I wanted to convert the cute puppy, into a different picture, and I showed that it was the same, but I was wrong. Here was the input photo, so I had to scroll down to the output photo, which is at the bottom. We're still building on this UI. So the opposite of the cute puppy is this dark crow, and as you can see, we also get the intermediate steps. So if we want to understand if something went well or not and why, we can see that the photo analysis extracted these key elements. The main subject is a small light color puppy, etc., etc. So I can give you other examples. Let's try something else to do it live. Here, I'll remove this one, upload a different photo. Here's a blue sky, for instance. Okay, and I'll just run the pipe. And this one, I will show you directly the good result.
Mm-hmm.
So, so what I showed you in this in our playground still in beta is that we know how to create the workflow from a natural language query, but we can also do it from a structured query. We can also do it from an existing prompt. We can also take if you have like a LangGraph code, for instance, because you created your workflow in LangGraph, we can take you can copy paste the code of your LangGraph workflow and drop it into Pipelex, and it will render into this our structured language in Toml. And so you don't even have to take care of the migration from one solution to the next. You can just have it done for you. So this in this sense it's universal because we have a translator of any kind of workflow into Pipelex, as long as it's about processing information. So what's the contrary of my blue sky? Let's check it out here. Okay, that's it. So it's underground, it's dark, it's creepy, and it came to the idea on its own.
And one other thing that I was thinking now, so when you describe about the workflows, and also you were mentioning, so here is parallel with SQL. If we
Yeah.
think that, so Pipelex is like the next SQL. In SQL, there is, let's say, like two cases how is work broadly, how is used broadly. One is, so I'm, let's say, like a data analyst, and I need to run like a report, and then I have my little SQL file, and I run this every week and so on. Very common, for example, also with N8N, that I need to have some repetitive tasks, and I run them. And then the other use case is I have a web application, and I need that so the data from this application is persisted. So it's running production, is deployed, and so on. It's maybe in some Docker container and so on. Pipelex, in which category will that fall, or maybe in both? So is it something that rather is for, like, say, like a analyst or like this anything user to run things on a regular basis, or is it more about, for example, like deploying it and it's just running the agent somewhere and there is actual no interaction whatsoever?
Well, first I must underline the difference with SQL. That SQL is still a language that only engineers are you're supposed to know how to use. It's for tech people, and we are also making a language that can be used by people who are non-technical. And for instance, for now we are a developer tool, but our novelty, our singularity is to bring the non-technical people in the loop to work directly on the language. And so to answer your question, there is a lot of processes that are happening thousands of times in companies. For instance, we were talking with a bank and we actually built a use case for them, design partner. They had to process credit loan applications. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In France, they get 100,000 ones per month. Okay, so in that case, what you want is a system that will just process them, as they come in, extract the information, do the analysis they need, and drop it into the ERP. You want it to be part of your IT system in that case. Okay. Now there
Yes.
are other cases where it's not that you want it industrialized and be an automatic part of your company's process. Is that you want something done plentiful. I'll give you an example because this is an example that we'll release in a few days. We have a logo for Pipelex, which we had an AI design for us a few months ago. But we don't have a mascot. You have a pretty cool mascot. You have the duck, and it's cool when you have an open source project community to have a mascot. So how can we design a mascot? We can go to a design agency and pay thousands of dollars, and because we've paid this money, at some point we'll have to say yes, we'll take this one even if we don't like it. Okay. So instead, I want a workflow to create a mascot, to take the values and the concept of my company, think about what it means, and think about what kind of animal or extraterrestrial fantasy being would represent it, and then imagine different styles of design, and then render it with different image generation engines, and come back to me with 200 proposals, and so that I can, identify the good ones, the bad ones, and maybe then iterate again on it. And just, if you want to generate 200 images, you can do it one by one on Sora or on services like that. But you will never put in the work to copy paste the prompt and then generate the ideas and then copy paste that into the image generator. You will get maybe 5, 10 ideas, and you will not get the job done properly, because to be done properly, you need work done. And here you're getting the work done by the AIs, and they're taking the time to do it properly. And because our system enables it, it can be pretty fast, because they can do that in parallel. They can have 10 different ideas, run with them in parallel, make variants of these ideas. Then you have like 10,000 ideas in parallel, etc., etc. And you can also have the process of reviewing, of critique. You can have, each time you generate an image, you have a vision model that comes afterwards with a prompt about, marketing and dev tool and all that makes a successful logo and successful mascot in the field of tech, and criticize the logo and give it a rating. And then it comes back to you, and you'll see the 100 best ones sorted by different categories. And this is also a way, a place where you need a workflow that will repeat itself, without fatigue.
Yes.
If you ask a creative guy to come up with 250 logos, at some time the guy is going to think it's starting to be pretty boring. It's not a good job for a creative person to have to do a large quantity. He will be tired. He will be bored. He will stop having ideas. You won't have this problem with AI if you prompt it with the proper kinds of workflows.
Yes. And for those who want basically to have repeatable AI workflows, which advice do you have for them? So you've been in this space now for 5 year plus, and of course the answer could be go and adopt Pipelex. But besides that, which are best practices or things people can be doing in order to increase this repeatability of their AI workflows?
Well, this is the core principles we discovered before. Actually, we haven't been starting working on that for 5 years. I started playing with AI 5 years ago. We really started working on that like a year and a half, a bit more, 2 years ago. And at the beginning, we didn't know we wanted to build Pipelex. The idea didn't just come like that. What we wanted to do was solve use cases. And we realized that if you give a large task to an AI, a lot of data or complex questions, it doesn't work. It's never going to be reliable. And even if it's reliable, it will never be repeatable. You will never get the same output format you want. And Andrew Ng, who coined the term agentic workflow, he explained very well why. If you give a large task, I don't know, you ask an AI to write a 50-page contract, it has to do it with one call, from the start to the beginning. It can never press backspace. Okay, so this has been partly solved with reasoning models recently, but they're good for reasoning. They're not good for writing, so it's not really solved. So you have to think of transforming a large task into smaller task and repeat. For instance, a contract is made of clauses, like 50, 100 clauses, so you can write the clause one by one.
Mhm.
It's natural. That's what a human would do, and also a human would, read the brief. What the partner, the law partner asked him to write, start writing a clause, and then maybe reread the brief to check. Okay, did I do it correctly? Did I forget to detail, or did I hallucinate something? And check the work. So. The first thing is that you need to transform large tasks into small tasks. And the second thing is really structure generation is a major power of control for the AI. And models, the different models, they don't do it all as well. Open source models are pretty bad at it in general, but you have a startup called .txt who does a solution that enables to do that well with the open source languages. Sorry, open source models. But you have OpenAI, Anthropic models are really good. Gemini, mm, are models that I love for some tasks. For structured generations, they're pretty crappy. They don't support optional fields, which means when you say you want a list of attributes, and if it's not there, don't output anything. It doesn't know how to do that. So, it will hallucinate the value if it's not there. So this is really problematic. So this is also good advice. Use different models. And for the beginners out there, when I say use the best models in general, I don't mean GPT-5. I mean like more like Claude 4.5, and these guys, they really got ahead of OpenAI a while ago.
Yes. And now that you bring up the models, something that we sometimes hear is that there's this belief that ultimately everything is absorbed by the model. And then right now, for example, you're suggesting we should be providing smaller tasks, make it simpler and so on. But then someone might say, yes, but in a couple of years, maybe in 6 months, the model will be capable of just taking the input and then decomposing it. So doing this pre-step within the model. So maybe as a
Yeah,
plan, it could be that and so on. So um,
yeah. It exists already today. You have the reasoning models who can do that. They are, thinking and taking the time to think
mhm,
before answering, and also the agentic workflows, kind of a way of doing it. The problem is that it's inefficient, and it will always be inefficient. I mean, always, even if you have AGI, even if you have ASI, it's inefficient to rethink the solution to your problem 10,000 times when you want to do it 10,000 times the same way. By definition, it's inefficient. So it's going to be costly in terms of tokens, which means money, energy impact, and time. Also, it's going to be slower. So if you have an AI which is really smart, say AGI or ASI, if it's smart, it knows, of course, what I'm telling you. That if you want to do the same thing 10,000 times, you'd better, find the method once, test it, tune it, optimize it, and then run it 10,000 times. And the optimized part is very important too, because when you have a multi-step process, you can use different AI models for each step. In Pipelex, it's really easy. You just drop in the name of a model or of a specific skill, and then it will use the right model from your model deck where you give it all your keys, and it knows what you can use. So if it's a smaller task, you can use a specific model which is smaller, or which has been trained specifically for that task by you, by someone else. And so less energy, less dollars, and more efficiency. I have even better argument about that. If you think about it, if you take a super neural network, ASI super smart, and you ask it to do multiplication, it will do it much better than a small model from today.
mm,
But how inefficient. The right way to do a multiplication is either to write a line of Python code and run it with the Python interpreter, or if you want even more efficiency, because you're ASI, you'll write directly the machine code to run it in binary,
yes,
like a compiler would do. And this is the
yes.
right way. So the method to do multiplication is to run, binary code, not to rethink the method of multiplication every time you use it.
Mhm, mhm. And therefore, one benefit that I'm so hearing here is that is not only for like the agent to understand what's the process and so on, and at some point these capabilities might be included as part of a reasoning process, but it's also for us humans to just keep it documented, right? Sounds like this could be like the equivalent to like a documentation for like
Yeah.
agentic workflows.
Yeah, it's not even, you're right about that. In sense, it's not just about efficiency, it's also about responsibility. Organizations need to know what they're running, and the black box effect of super smart AI, where it gets the job done but you don't know how it did. Nobody can explain how it did it. There are many different fields where this is totally unacceptable. It's unacceptable in banking, it's unacceptable in HR. You need to prove You need to be able to prove that the way you made the decision for a credit loan, for selecting applicants for a job offer, etc. You need to prove that it's not biased. You need to prove that it respects the law of your country. You have to prove that. So if it's a black box, you cannot prove anything. So you
Mhm.
need a transparency. And if you want the transparency to be usable, you need to be the transparency to be standardized. So again, with the multi-steps and the structured approach, where you can have a look, you can have every step of the process visible and recorded in the database of your archive, and then you can also do statistics on it, and prove to the authorities that you did things the way they should be done. So this is, I think it's more important than Pipelex is a good way, is a good product because it gets, it's efficient, it's practical. There's something, and that's what I was hinting at the beginning when you asked me, what was completely transformative, what was really new, and the fact that we have to think differently. We have to think about thinking.
Mm.
This is the point. How does one intelligent being think and work correctly? And that's very unnatural because we've been used to be the only intelligent people on the planet, humans. And so we only know one kind of intelligence. And here is a different kind of intelligence. Okay, it's not the same as ours, but so because it's different, we don't know which parts of it is going to be like us or not like us. And everything that's been found out about intelligence since the Greek philosophers and the mathematicians, everything that's been invented in engineering and science, we don't know if it's true for all kinds of intelligences that you need to do things this way and that way. And I found out by hitting against the wall with AI and thinking, okay, well, we'll do like a human will do. We'll make it work step by step. We'll make it check its own work, and it makes sense. I think it's probably mathematically true that you need to record a method to run it over and over again. If you just take into account that creating the method is already some work, and you don't want to multiply it by 10,000, so there's some logic in there, and
Yes.
this is something that people have not understood right away because they were lost in this impression that the AI was like a magic wand. And if it's a magic wand, you don't question it, you don't make it work. You just you wave it, and maybe you work on the spell. Like prompt engineering is like thinking that AI is only about prompt engineering, which was like what we heard in 23, 24. It's like saying it's a wand and you just need to write spell. If it doesn't work, here's the right spell. Here is my collection of super spells. And I'm saying, no, have to make it work.
Yes, yes. And I want to spend a few minutes on thinking about like, the future for Pipelex. What's in the pipeline? So now you're describing that one thing that is missing and might be coming in the future is on integrations with third-party applications, third-party APIs. If I want to integrate here my CRM, my email app, and so on,
Yeah.
that'll be here in the pipeline. So what can someone expect to see in Pipelex in the next coming months, in the rest of the year?
Well, first, we're launching in a few days in San Francisco.
Oh,
And we're
great.
launching because we have something to put on a web page, and you saw it in preview. All right. So that people can come and find out about us without having to clone a repo or type pip install Pipelex. They can play with it, see that it works, and then we'll tell them if you want to run this workflow, well, you need to pip install Pipelex. This is today. Now, in
Mhm.
the next few weeks, we also have an API server so that you can, just use our hosted server or run it yourself and and run the workflows this way. So you won't have to be using Python. You won't have to have so complex setup. So this is really our fight to make it the most usable possible. And then there is this other trend where we want to make Pipelex work with the rest of the technology that people are using. So first there is Python library works with Python. Then there is the API, which works with any language that can hit a web service. And then we'll also release the MCP server, and we'll show plenty of demos of this running in ChatGPT, in Claude, in Cursor, so that you can, just click install the Pipelex MCP server and start, building workflows with natural language and then running them just by invoking their name, okay, or invoking what you want them to do. This is also uh, a step that will make Pipelex the easiest and most powerful way to create new MCP servers. So at one point in the next few weeks, we'll have the possibility in a chatbot to create a new workflow in natural language or by chatting with the agent. And then when you're happy with the workflow, you've tested it, with probably some synthetic data that it will create for you. Then you deploy it and it becomes an MCP server. And then you can share it with your friends and they can use it in their chatbot. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is something that's going to make it really, really powerful. We'll also have nodes for Make and A10, and we'll showcase many demos where you will be able to see the difference with or without Pipelex. This is what's coming between now and the end of the year.
Yes, and
Pipelex everywhere.
this interface that you'll be presenting, that you're showcasing now in San Francisco soon, is that all self-hosted, or this part of your cloud service?
This should be for now considered a demo, a playground.
Mhm.
It's brittle. It's not made to be like a new web app. It's not ready for that. Okay, but it's the first step, and we're an open source project, so the code is already there. Now we are just giving it more visibility. We recently passed the bar of 100 stars on GitHub without chasing stars at all, just people finding out about it. And so we're doing a hackathon in San Francisco again, more people to play with it because we need, this is building software, especially building dev tools and open source tools. We need a lot of feedback. So while we're building, making Pipelex more usable and more distributable, we're also, taking in the feedback and making it fit with the needs of users in real life and solving real use cases. For instance, we've been onboarding a few teams, actually more than 10 teams in Paris. Really different kinds of teams. We've got teams of students, we got teams in startups, scale-ups, global Fortune 500 companies, banks and all, and so this is this part. So people who see this video, if you want to try Pipelex, you'll be one of the first people to discover it. And so if you need help, we have a small community. It's not huge, but it's there. It's on Discord. So you just come drop by. Also, we are handing out API keys so people can try Pipelex, have access to all the AI models, and they get the keys for free. So that they can start playing around with it. And if they have any trouble, run it. Just drop by Discord, and we'll just we're there to help you.
Great. So this means that anyone can either here start the repository or not either. So ideally start the repository, join that Discord community that you're having, and then
Yeah.
start playing it, especially now that you'll be having this playground to try things out.
Yeah, and so they can share their pipelines also. You see,
Yes.
so you can see, oh, you did that in banking. I'm in insurance. Oh, this looks like what I need, so I'll take it. Or like you did this for marketing of luxury products, and I'm doing marketing in games. I'm just going to tweak the prompt a little bit. The brand voice part of it. I'm just going to drop the PDF, the 3-page PDF requirements of brand voice from my marketing department, drop it into the mix and see what I get out of it. So it's at the same time it's fun to play with. Like when you started to play with ChatGPT and some prompts, there's this new feeling, but with it's the same, but it's different. You feel more powerful, you feel more serious, you feel like you're breaking ground. So, but it's a lot of fun, and especially since we made it easy now that you don't have to, fight with the language and fix your syntax error yourself. Like
Yes.
like uh, like 5 years ago. Now you can just be assisted by the AI. So it's a lot of fun, but it's also challenging. And because people we meet, they all have these AI challenges that they have not overcome. They're like, oh, but I wanted to do this with AI, but it doesn't work. This is the state of the art now is people in companies try to do stuff with AI that doesn't work. So they come with challenges, and together with the community, we think we can solve them, many of them.
I agree. I agree. And in case that Pipelex is not participating at Hacktoberfest, you should consider that. Gentic is part of Hacktoberfest this year. We have 3 repositories there. So it's also a great way how the
When is it?
community can. It's running now, so it's the whole month of October and so on. So it's basically
Oh,
any so here, open source project can join and then post issues, share, and have people. So basically, the community helping you solve them. So here at Gente, we have 3 repositories. Maybe something for Pipelex to consider, and for everyone who is curious in how to get started with Pipelex, could be also a good way to get onboarded. And I feel like with this, Louis, it's a great way to conclude. So this session that we've been having. So it's very interesting how. So here with Pipelex is the idea of building a universal language, how to describe processes that will be useful not only for humans, but also for here the LLMs. And we're seeing how anyone can just get started now through different ways. So there are many on-ramps, such as the community on Discord. So here is, of course, the website, GitHub repository, and then soon also this playground that you'll be launching.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Rod. It was a pleasure to discuss this with you.
Well, thanks so much for joining, Louis. And then for everyone, don't forget that we are here every Thursday at 4 p.m. So here Dublin time, and we'll be having next week as well. So a fantastic guest to discuss everything that pertains AI agents, workflows, APIs, and so much more. Thank you everyone for being here today, and thank you, Louis.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.